So, Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards has concluded. And first things first, and this is coming from someone who is a big fan of Joe Rogan, his commentary makes me want to vomit. It's horrible. I just cannot stand it. You've got a guy in Leon Edwards who dominated the entire fight, was well up on the scorecards, and he, with a minute and a half to go, attacked with a really good submission. He didn't get it and ended up on the bottom. Now, Leon, he did not make an attempt to get up. He just decided to ride the round out. And for someone doing commentary, I completely understand them pointing this out. I can even understand them expressing that they feel that for Leon, who was dominating that entire fight, it's not a good way to go out just staying on his back. I understand that. But Joe would not shut up about it. That, out of that entire 5-round fight, that was his single and only takeaway. After the fight ended and him, Anik, and DC were doing their little wrap-up at the end, that was all he was talking about. It's completely valid to feel like it wasn't the best way for Leon to go out, of course, but as somebody who is supposed to stay neutral and do their best to objectively call the fight for what it was, he is horrible at it. Absolutely atrocious. Now that that's out of the way, as far as the fight itself, I had originally made a video expressing that I felt Colby Covington had some serious problems against Leon Edwards. And that's because it is a tall order trying to close the distance against somebody like Leon Edwards. Colby's last few fights, he was fighting guys similar height, similar reach to him. He didn't need to close the distance. He was able to wing his overhands, which set up his takedowns beautifully. But against Leon Edwards, every time he extended, Leon was looking for counters, and he was landing quite a few of them. Leon was just hitting that pull counter over and over again. And not to mention, he was putting Colby on the back foot, making it really hard to shoot any takedowns. To me, it wasn't that Colby was just simply choosing not to engage. He actually did attempt a couple takedowns in the first 2 rounds. They were just really sloppy and he didn't get close at all because Leon wasn't giving him any opportunity to get on the inside cleanly. But as we knew from Colby's 2 fights against Usman, he is wild in the pocket, but he is also very effective there. And once the 3rd round started, he was able to find his range a lot better, which did allow him to get deeper on some shots. But as I've mentioned before in a past video, the UFC is changing. We saw for many, many years, high-level wrestlers would always smash strikers. But that's starting to not become the case, and the reason for that is strikers are becoming really good wrestlers. Yeah, Colby Covington is the better wrestler than Leon Edwards. If they had a wrestling match, Colby Covington would win. But Leon has been wrestling for years. Years and years and years. Combine that with the weight advantage he had against Covington, and you see Covington really struggled to get him down, and Leon was able to get back up, and then even take him down on multiple occasions. Every time Colby shot up against the fence, Leon would always attack one arm. Because if you cannot connect your hands, you cannot finish the takedown. It is just that simple. But one thing that was really interesting, a big difference in the wrestling styles between Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington was Colby used chain wrestling a lot more. He would take guys down, make them work really hard to get back up, then he would just drag them back down again. Even if you were defending one takedown, he would just switch to a different one. And I thought if he was able to get deep on any takedown attempts, I thought Leon would struggle having to, 1, work really hard to get back up, but then 2, have to defend a variety of takedowns. But this was not the case. Leon only got taken down a couple times, but when he did, he would turtle, reach back grabbing a whizzer, and he was able to stand back up. So when you combine the facts that Leon was able to close that gap in the wrestling, and that he is the far more technical striker than Colby, he wins the fight. It seems like because guys at the top are so good and so well-rounded, wrestling is becoming less of a win condition. One area of the fight that was really interesting, though, was seeing Leon's jiu-jitsu. There was one time in particular where he had just defended one of Colby's takedowns, and he stepped over to take Colby's back. Now, the thing is, there wasn't anything inherently wrong with how Leon was attempting to take his back. The technique is good. The issue is, it is so extremely hard to take a wrestler's back because of how good they are at scrambling. The second you get your first hook in, they grab it, they hike your leg up, then they get their head higher than yours and then turn into you. And then all of a sudden you're on the bottom. And that's exactly what we saw happen. But as far as submissions go, Leon was very effective. That helicopter guillotine was in tight. Colby had to do a serious gator roll to get out of there. Typically in MMA, I do not advise pulling guard with guillotines, but specifically with that kind of guillotine, it is so tight and it is impossible to slip your head out once it's locked in. The only escape is to roll, and if Leon had pulled guard, Colby would have gotten finished. Now, at the end of the fight, when Leon went for that triangle and then tried to transition to an armbar, when he took that huge risk right before the commentators criticized him for not taking enough risks, the triangle was really tight, but in the position he was in, it can be hard to get your opponent to tap. So transitioning to the armbar was a smart idea, but he immediately slipped off. If it had been earlier in the fight and they weren't quite as sweaty, it would have been easier for Leon to control him there. But either way, props to Leon for attempting it. As of right now, a lot of people are saying how bad Colby looked. He looked sloppy. He didn't look himself. I really don't think that was the case. I don't think he's ever fought somebody to the caliber of Leon Edwards. Somebody who has really good takedown defense, really good get-ups from getting taken down, and is such a high-level striker. During those first 2 rounds, the only thing Colby could have changed was to fight more recklessly, which could possibly work out better for him, but it also could have worked out a lot worse. I mean, Colby was already getting countered, fighting super safe and conservative. To overextend more and take more risks, it's really dangerous. As far as what's next for Colby, honestly, I have no idea. I think he lost a lot of respect tonight. His post-fight speech was shocking, to say the least. I get it. Colby plays a heel, and heels are supposed to be unlikable. They're supposed to lie. Alright, but for him to sit there and tell us, I did not take any damage that fight, with his nose bleeding right in front of us, and his leg being the color purple. That is not how you get anybody on your side. If Colby really wants to keep fighting and try to have another run at the title, alright, I guess you put him against Amir. To me, with Shavkat's performance tonight, I say you leapfrog Muhammad, put him right up against Leon. That's the fight that I want to see, and I guess Colby can fight him. But what if Colby beats Amir? Then what? It's a long road back to the title, and being 35 years old, I really don't see him having that much time left in the sport. The one really interesting thing I can see Colby doing is making a cut to 55. He walks around at less than Islam Makhachev does. I think he can make 55. Tough to say how he'd perform there, but if he wants a run at the title, I think that's his only hope.